Okay, if everybody could take their seats, we're going to start this meeting. This is the Village Board meeting, Wednesday, March 25th. If we'd all stand, we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll have Trustee K. Janice lead us in.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa.
Present.
Trustee DeVivo. Present. Trustee Kajanis.
Present.
Trustee Sabo. Present. Trustee Suisse.
Present.
Trustee Yukich.
Present.
Mayor Daley.
Present. Okay, this would be D. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Okay. This would be E. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of November 5th, 2014 Village Board meeting?
So moved.
First by Trustee Costa,
Second.
second by, that was Trustee Suisse. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of November 12th, 2014 Village Board meeting?
So moved.
First by Trustee Yukich,
Second.
second by Trustee Sabo. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. This would be 3. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of February 11th, 2015 Village Board meeting?
I so move.
First by Trustee Suisse,
Second.
second by Trustee Costa. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Okay, tonight we have a proclamation honoring the Lockport Township High School Girls Bowling Team, IHSA State Champions. We're very happy to have the members of the LTAS Girls Bowling Team and their coaches here with us this evening. This proclamation is in honor of their recent outstanding achievement. Whereas, on Friday, February 20th, 2015, 12 members of the girls' bowling team from Lockport Township High School began their state tournament in Rockford, Illinois, where the Porters competed against 12 other Illinois teams in the Illinois High School Association State Girls Bowling Competition. And whereas on Saturday, February 21st, 2015, the Lockport Porters girls bowling team made IHSA history with a 12,689 pinfall, the best performance in 43-year history of the tournament. And whereas the Lockport Porters girls bowling team previously won 3 state championships, and whereas this season the Lockport Porters girls bowling team won the Rock Island Invitational, Dana and Celeste Walker Invitational, Prospect Invitational, Fenton Invitational, and Dixon Invitational, the Lamont Regional, and the Lockport Sectional. And whereas Lockport Township High School has provided an opportunity for young women of this area to participate in competitive athletics and to learn about sportsmanship, and winning the state championship is testimony to the obvious talent and dedication exhibited by these young ladies. Now therefore, I, Mayor Jim Daley, on behalf of the Village of Homer Glen, do hereby formally congratulate the Lockport Porter Girls Bowling Team as champions in representing this area honorably and with distinction for their great accomplishments, and declare Monday, March 30th to be the Lockport Porters Girls Bowling Team Day in the Village of Homer Glen. Lady Porters and their coaches, please join me up front for some pictures. Congratulations, girls. You know what, maybe we should scoot this way so we can
So that it's like the hand, like it just flips.
Okay, everybody. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Okay, this would be G, appointments. Is there a motion to appoint Larry Witzel to the Environment Committee?
I so move.
First by trustee Sabo,
Second.
second by trustee Costa. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Madam, go right ahead, trustee Sabo.
I would like Larry Witso to stand, please. Larry has been attending our meetings since last fall, and he liked us so much that he wanted to continue and enjoys the projects that we do give and our projects that benefit the village and its residents. Thank you, Larry.
Okay, with that being said, and there's a first and a second, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Kajanis?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations, Larry. Okay, this would be H. Is there a motion to approve the accounts payable for the period of February 27, 2015 through March 26, 2015?
So moved.
First by trustee DeVivo,
Second.
second by trustee Costa. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Kajanis?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, this is reports and communications from the mayor and other officers. How about we start down with trustee Costa?
No report this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, trustee Costa, no report. Trustee Yukich?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just going to be reporting tonight on the festival this coming summer. We've changed a couple of the times. Thursday, it's going to be 3 to 11 this year. Friday, it's going to start at 2, but it's going to be for the special needs children. They go from 2:30 to 4:30. After that, it opens up from 5 o'clock in the evening to midnight. Saturday and Sunday are going to be 12. Saturday's going to be 12 to 12. Sunday will be 12 to 8. The bands are all set up for right now. For Thursday, we're going to have Lights Out Chicago. Thursday evening later, we'll have Maggie Speaks. Friday, the first band will be 80s Enough. Second band will be High Fidelity. Saturday, we have 3 of them. Cooper's Grove will play first. Crazy Uncles will play second. Infinity will play third. Sunday, we have 2. It's going to be Joe Elvis Trio, and then the Neverly Brothers to end it up. Everything's fallen in place. We've got everything ordered, everything agreed, all the contracts in, so we're looking forward to having it. That's my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Sabo?
Yes, I'm going to be reporting for the Environment Committee, and the first topic is the tree ordinance. The Environment Committee's Tree Ordinance Subcommittee met in February to review and update the Homer Glen Tree Ordinance. The concern in the community has been for the abundant loss of trees due to the emerald ash borer and other dead and dying trees. The committee has responded accordingly and considered the protection and saving of more trees in order to prevent the loss of trees unnecessarily when development occurs, and updated the tree diameter and the tree cost replacement. Also, the tree list was included with the ordinance, and we are in the process, included with the tree ordinance, and it's being amended with more listing of trees pertaining to different planting locations such as street trees and trees under power lines. It was recommended in the tree management plan that the tree ordinance be updated, and we did have help with that with Mark Denneman, who had been selected to do the tree survey. The next topic is the lighting ordinance, and the Environment Committee Subcommittee on Lighting will be meeting on Friday, March 27th, with Brian Fisher, and will also continue to review for clarity, consistency, and usability. New information will be added to keep up with technology and lessen light pollution. Next topic is Earth Day Arbor Day this year. A new sponsor and participant for the Earth Day Arbor Day celebration is Willowbrook Ford. They will be added to the list of businesses who have already pledged their support. Those businesses are Apple Chevrolet, Myers, Richards Building Supply, New Way Homewood Disposal, Door to Door Organics, Dr. Z's Pharmacy, and the Conal Farm. A new addition, which is an exciting attraction, will be the conservation trailer from the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. It's very difficult to get. The committee is encouraging participations from individuals, groups, and businesses that will fit in the theme. Application and guidelines can be found on the Homer Glen website or by going to www.earthdaybordday.info. And I know that there are people in this room that would qualify as vendors for this green event, or would like to be volunteers, and it's a fun way to spend a Saturday. Thank you. That's May 16th. My report.
Thank you, Trustee Sabo. Trustee Trustee Kajanis?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to report on one of our Homer Glen businesses coming up this weekend. Pelican Harry's once again is doing a fundraiser for St. Baldrick's, and very important charity for children with cancer. So please, they give back to the community and give back to the children in our society. So please support one of our very own businesses in Homer Glen. As I stated, once again, our business in Homer Glen giving back to the community. And I'd like to thank Pelican Harris for this. Also, as far as economic interest, over the past years, I've asked for the economic interest statement as far as an offer circular that is given to our local businesses for the festival to make sure that they participate on any signed circulars. I'm looking forward to seeing those so we can make sure we recognize our local businesses in Homer Glen as participants with our festival. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Trustee Kajanis. Trustee Suisse?
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting for the Homer Harvest Days Committee. Homer Harvest Days will take place on September 12 and 13 at the Trantina Farm. Invitations have been sent to the previous demonstrators and vendors. We are always looking for new ways to portray this event, so please visit the website at www.homerharvestdays.com for vendor and demonstrator applications, or contact the Township Office at 708-301-0522 for more information. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Suisse. Trustee DeVivo?
Thank you, Mayor. Not much to report. We did have our park meeting, and we went over the updates on the trail system and the various parks. We did send out an RFP for the mowing of the park, so we should hear shortly on that, and it'll be reviewed, and it'll come to the board for a vote. The other thing that I'd like to point out is the screen. We had an interpretive sign made for Erin Hills Park, and it overlooks the wetlands. And that was installed finally because the ground was soft enough. So if you can see it over there, it really, really turned out nice. You stand there and what you're looking out over, if you can see in the back, is the detention ponds and the wetlands. And it talks about the birds and the butterflies and dragonflies and ducks, all the things that you would typically see in a wetland. That's my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee DeVivo. And now for the mayor's report. We'll Go Camping sold to Wild Bill's RV and Outdoor Center. Good news. We'll Go Camping business owners, Connie and Bob Schmidt, have accepted a purchase offer for their business assets and commercial property on 159th Street. The buyer proposes to continue the existing business operation of selling motorhomes and RVs under the new name of Wild Bill's RV and Outdoor Center. We welcome the new owners to Homer Glen and wish Bob and Connie the very best. Girl Scout Troop 402 collecting American flags at Village Hall. I want to let everybody know that the Girl Scout Troop 42 is collecting used, worn, or damaged American flags. The troop is collecting the American flags so that they can be retired collectively and with respect. You can drop off your American flags through April 1st at the Homer Glen Village Hall from Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And that concludes the mayor's report. Does the treasurer have a report?
Yes, Mayor, I have the Treasurer's Report of Cash and Investments at February 28, 2015. It's the 10th month of fiscal 2015. It shows the general fund with balances of $4,792,424.27. The special event fund with a cash and investment balance of $54,501.55. The environmental fund, $39,485.17. The motor fuel tax fund had a balance of $2,238,086.88. The land acquisition fund had a cash and investment balance of $1,022,769.39. Park and Recreation Fund, $2,396,215.97. The Debt Service Fund had a cash and investment balance of $440,806.30. The Capital Project Fund had a cash and investment balance of $3,661,038.91. The EAB Tree Replacement Fund had a balance of $477,933.13. And the last fund, the Bond Fund, had a cash and investment balance of $15,184,640.60. And 10 months into the fiscal year, we're projecting a sizable surplus to end the year with. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, John. Does the clerk have a report?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just wanted to remind everybody that early voting began this past Monday. Will go through this week and all of next week, 9 to 4, here in the village boardroom.
Thank you, Gail. How about the village attorney?
I have no report this evening.
How about any public safety officials? Okay, how about the village manager?
Thank you, Mayor and Board. Director Salamovich wants to update you on an upcoming road closure.
Just as a reminder, as part of the Kettering subdivision, which is actually located at the corner of 131st Street and Parker Road in Lamont, they're going to be closing Parker Road temporarily to allow the contractor to do some road work. The road closure will take place approximately about 2 to 3 weeks and will last, according to the contractor, it'll last about 4 weeks. I would say look to have it potentially last a little bit longer depending on weather. We do have the information on our website, and they will be putting up signs, including a message board, at least a week in advance to allow the motorists to kind of acclimate to and be ready for the closure. So that's it.
Thank you, Mike. Does the manager have a report?
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. The next portion of this meeting would be public comment. We keep it to 3 minutes. Please sign in prior to the start of this meeting. The first speaker would be Panoveabakutis. Robert Morris University, go right ahead, step right up.
Better than trying to mispronounce it.
Well, I was gonna let you go with it.
My name is Panoveabakutis, and I'm here representing Robert Morris University from the Glen Park campus. Can you hear me now? Thank you. Thank you. Mayor Daley, Clerk Scorbutin, members of the board, Manager Stirk. I am here with some really good news. We are offering amazing scholarships to residents of Homer Glen to attend Robert Morris University at the Orland Park campus with these amazing scholarship opportunities. I'm going to give you these pass outs. I also gave a pass out to your new reporter for Homer Glen Horizon so that she can also put it in the newspaper as well, whatever other communication avenues you have. So those residents that are interested in higher learning will take this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Again, Robert Morris is offering community education grants not only to the residents of Homer Glen, but also to residents of Crest Hill, Joliet, Plainfield, and Shorewood. Robert Morris is continuing its partnership with our neighboring communities by extending education scholarship offers to residents of nearby communities. Residents attending classes at the Orland Park campus qualify for an annual grant of over $17,000 to complete a bachelor's degree. Just to give you an idea of what that means, a typical academic year tuition cost at Robert Morris University is $25,200. But for residents qualifying for this grant, then their tuition cost is only $7,500. Quite a significant cost savings each and every year through degree completion. So it's not just for the first year. It's each and every year until they complete their bachelor degree. Again, it's an amazing scholarship opportunity for those people who are interested in higher ed. About Robert Morris briefly, we prepare students for the real world of business with an accelerated education, we are in the quarter system, based on experiential learning. This is offered for the adult evening program. It's offered within a flexible class schedule by attending classes full-time, 3 classes per quarter, but only on campus 2 evenings per week. And to qualify, all the residents have to be a resident of that community for at least 1 year. That's it. And of course, be a high school graduate. Just recently, I just want to bring this up real quick. I know I only have 3 minutes. But Money Magazine, national circulated widespread magazine, recently did a study of over 1,000 universities in the United States to see the quality of education that students receive based on the tuition that they pay. So to speak, more bang for your buck. We were in the top 100. We were number 53, actually. And of the 4 or 5 schools that came from Illinois, we're the number 1 school for experiential learning. So again, I just wanted to bring this to your attention. I'm not asking for anything, I'm giving away. I feel like Santa Claus. So those people who are interested, I believe you all are going to be posting it on the website for anyone who wants to know more details about this. We have class starts coming up May 4th, July 20th, and September 28th. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
I don't. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, the next speaker would be Bob Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Board of Trustees. It's ironic that I come to a board meeting to find out that my business has been sold. That's very interesting. That is so far from the truth. I don't know where the information came from, but I will find out. And I'll tell you why. The conversations between the village and the people who were interested in buying it never mentioned changing Wilco's name. Wilco is synonymous with Homer Glen. Our business grew as Homer Glen grew. And I'll be damned if somebody's going to change that name without me signing off on it. And this village should not have done that. That being said, I will contact the realtor because any deal is in the hands of the attorney. And we have not agreed to a goddamn thing.
Hey, clean it up.
No,
Yes,
no. They
Bob,
are lying.
I'm telling
I know,
you,
Mayor.
you're not gonna stand there and swear in front
I
of
don't mean
everybody.
to. But
Okay,
Miss
then
Jim,
just keep it
you
above
know
the
me.
belt.
You
Keep it
know
ab-
me.
I got you, keep
I
it above
haven't
the
said
belt.
anything in, what, 25 years? But this is my heart talking. And I'm not, no, not yet. I'm not going to yell at you all the time. Anyway, first of all, for those of you who are leaving the board, I wish to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your service and dedication to me and to all of us here in Homer Glen. The 24,000 of us that have grown to love our town, love our elected officials, even though we may not always have agreed. With that being said, let me see where I'm going, and I'm almost done there. With that being said, I have witnessed lately people who are candidates for our community not being very nice, not being polite. Yeah, I'm 77 years old, but I want respect. And recently, Mayor, two of your candidates got into an argument with me and used their four-letter word. And you all know what they were. It had nothing to do with the man upstairs. So, I'm sorry, Mayor, your selection has cost me your vote. I will not support people who do not support the people of Homer Glen. You know what they do? They don't talk from their heart. They talk from their rear end. And all they're doing is blowing gas. So I
Let's
just wanna
conclude it
thank
up, Bob. This isn't
the
a political
people
speech.
are running now. God bless you. All right? Other than that, the mayor, I still love you.
Thank you. Have a nice one. Okay, our next speaker would be Dave Bankston.
My name is Dave Bankston. I represent the Bankston family, Bankston Pumpkin Festival, and I'm here to address Jim Daly's, Mayor Daly's announcement of the all-new 2015 Bankston Pumpkin Festival. I just have a few tools for you if you're going to be running the Bankston Pumpkin Festival in 2015. I've got some pumpkin seeds for you, Jim.
I'm not running it. I don't
I
need.
heard you were.
I don't need. I don't need that.
Says you
I
were.
don't need.
There's some
This isn't.
pumpkin seeds.
I
There's
don't.
a hoe for
I
you.
don't.
for
I
to
don't
hold the
need.
pumpkins. And
Mr. Mayor.
Here's a hat for you to keep the sun off your head.
There you
Mr.
go.
Mayor,
You
there's a
know
little
what?
decorum that needs to happen here.
This. I'm not running it. Mike
Announced that you were.
Mike
Your logo
Selimovich,
called my house
come here
and
and
told
take
my
this out of here.
13-year-old daughter that you were.
Take this out of here. Take this out of here. Are you done, Dave?
No, I'm
All
not.
right.
My wife informed me that I'm not. It says that you fully intend to run the 2015 Fall Pumpkin Festival. It's going to be the best and biggest pumpkin festival ever. I mean, what is that about? Is that crazy?
Say whatever you want. Let's get on with it.
I just did.
All right, great. All right, the next speaker would be Pam Bankston. Okay, Jeremy Bankston.
My name is Jeremy Bankston. Jim, I came here to ask you personally. I see a lot of things in the news media. I see a lot of things in the social media. They all stem from you. They're directly written from you. They're from your email address. They're written on your pages, Progress for Homer Glen. These statements say that a future that I've planned for 30 more years of my life, living in Homer Glen my entire life, working in Homer Glen my entire life, the only place I've ever received a paycheck. I know that my entire family works hard throughout the year. And our entire intention all year is to bring the best festival to the thousands of families that come and count on us to bring them, all the joy that they experience there. And then all of a sudden I see these statements from a guy I've never met, and in 30 years I've never once seen on our property, despite all his recent statements of enjoying it with his family and it being the best pumpkin farm in the world. Odd. I've been there every day. I've never seen you there. I've never taken a phone message from you. I've never passed on any sort of email communication from you. So unless you have some sort of stealthy communication methods with somebody in my family that I've never met, seems unlikely, I'm just curious how I read a statement from you to the Homer Stallions. You have an entire mailing list, which I'm not sure how the mayor gets to use freely, and you address them and tell them how you're going to run my family business, which is an absurd statement, considering I would think for you to run the Bankston Pumpkin Farm, you would have to purchase the Bankston Pumpkin Farm. We never intend to leave this town. We intend to be here forever. There's a kid here that's under 1 year old. He's going to run that farm here in Homer Glen. And you seem to be the only person who has plans, who has made plans, or knows of plans for anything other than that. We've never heard of Perry Real Estate until at a very convenient and, to me, seemingly amazingly strategically timed letter written from Perry that says he's going to run the farm, when the selling bank says they do not know who this person is. And you
They have a contract with them.
They do.
Yeah.
The person that allegedly met with you, Larry Sisk, came to our property and imposed himself as the purchaser, saying that he had met with you and discussed the future of our farm. True or false, Jim?
No, he
Jim.
he came to me like any other business
Jim.
person does.
Perry
Hold on
or
here. You
Sisk?
asked the question. Let me
Perry
answer
or
it for
Sisk?
you.
Perry or Sisk?
Hold on here. Let
One or
me
the other, Jim.
answer. Let me answer the question you
Perry
asked.
or Sisk?
You asked the question.
Clarify.
Let me answer it.
Okay.
I meet with anybody
Perry
that would
or
like
Sisk?
to.
Who met with you? Perry or Sisk?
Both.
So they were
He
there
brought
together.
the investor with him.
They all were in your office.
He asked to have a meeting. He was looking at a property. He mentioned your property. I told him the path of least resistance was to continue a pumpkin fest, and that's what he intends to do. He put a contract in on the property.
The
It's
property,
between
but
a
not our
bank.
fall festival.
Can I finish, please?
Sure.
You asked me a question. He put a contract in, that's between the bank and him, not between me and the bank and him.
Well, you are in between it because you just said
No,
you had a meeting
no,
with him. You
no.
never had a meeting with us.
I meet with every single individual that would like to operate a business in Homer Glen.
And then
You got
your
that?
letter states that the statement is we, the word we, will have the best pumpkin farm. Written by you.
Meaning Homer
written by you.
Glen, meaning Homer Glen, not me,
Then why is it
him,
addressed
and the
to
next
all the stallions
person.
from you? Not
It's
our village,
we,
it says we.
The village. The village. I represent the village as the
Do
mayor.
you see it as potentially
Okay, I can see
misleading?
this is politically motivated. Say what you'd like to say, and let's get on with it.
Well, first of all,
Hold on. It's public comment. It's public comment. Finish up.
My question, Jim.
Finish up.
How is it that I intended to have my family business here for the next 100 years, and you seem to be the only person with information as to why it won't be?
Thank you. Okay, the next speaker would be Mary Ann Bozen.
Well, after all this chaos that went going on here, yes, I read about the Basin Farm, and I read about it, the property going into bankruptcy from our old,
Mr. McHenry.
what was it? McHenry, right. About going into in bankruptcy. And about in the Homer Horizon, I read all this about the Basins not wanting to going to start their property out by the Kankakee, out that way, down 45, and that they weren't satisfied with the amount of money that was they wanted to pay for the property to have that on. And there's been a lot of stuff going on, and when somebody goes in bankruptcy, and it's the village and it's the town, and it's happening in the village and in the town. And I agree with you, Jim. I think you are the mayor, and you are the one who actually does meet with people, because they don't say, well, who's the trustee? Who's this here? They say, we'd like to speak to the mayor and talk to him about that. So I'm sure the representatives did come up to you and ask you to talk about the property. Just like they went to Basins and talked to them and said, well, do you want to pay this here kind of money for you to have your property on there? And they'd say, no, I don't want to pay that. So that's it. But anyway, I didn't come up here to talk about Basin. I'm sorry about that. I come up here to talk about your signs, the signs being destroyed at Woodbine. And I ask, how does this mean? Homer citizens are reaching a low standard of civility. Have we reached Chicago's low? Well, I don't believe so, because of the fact we've had good progress from Jim. And do I expect somebody who is in bankruptcy to run the town good? And
Hey, Mary Ann, keep it going until let's.
okay, well, something that I read on Facebook. So anyway, Facebook. I read the report.
Okay,
but anyway,
okay.
I come here to actually talk about Woodbine, about the trustees. You picked the architecture, and the trustees did the plans. And I was wondering if it's you're going to start doing any building on it, and when it's going to come up. And I'm glad that Woodbine was picked over Dunn Farm. Under that, from the scuttlebutt that I hear, that people wanted to use the Woodbine as a direct resort type of banquet and build another building on the property for the village. Well, if you can't decide on what you're going to build and do with the building now, if you had to build another building, I'd say it'd take another 10 years, and you'll never get it, and the money will be gone.
Thanks, Miriam. Okay, the next speaker would be Dennis Gerwin.
Dennis Gerwin, 12250 West Derby Lane, Homer Glen, Orland Park. Kind of warm in here. What I'm up here to talk about today is the budget that's going to be discussed during the workshop. I assume Mr. Davis is going to have a slide presentation on it. I would have liked to have seen that presentation made before public comments. I encourage you all to review the fiscal budget beginning May 1st, analyze it as compared to the last year or the current year's fiscal budget. I really don't want that thing. No, okay. And make some comparisons as to next year versus the current year. I noticed that one of the big requests is for a budget request of $395,000 to go to our police department. It seems every year since we've had the sheriff's department on our payroll that it's been a big increase, and that's fine. We need police protection. In the course of that, I think I'd like to see the amount of traffic citations being issued increased. We're averaging, if I read the report correctly, 8.2 tickets per day. That's over what, a 22 square mile area? That doesn't seem like a lot to me. And my next question is, why don't we get some of that money back from the county? We don't get a penny of that back. I think that might be, need some looking into. The next thing that I was going to talk about is Cameron has requested budgetary monies for possible wage increases amongst our employees. I would suggest that those be examined carefully. And in my opinion, the people that are well below paid is the mayor and the trustees. For what you guys get paid a year and for what you do, you guys belong on the poverty level. And that to me just isn't right. You guys, and the mayor has said this himself, it's the county, it's the village board that runs this community. You control the purse strings. Any misspent money falls on your shoulders. That's a big responsibility. And I think for the amount of time that most of you put in, maybe not all of you, but most of you, that's a full-time job plus for a lousy $6,000 a year. How many people here would work as hard as you do for $6,000 a year? If any raises go out, you're the guys that need them, okay? Not necessarily these guys. With all due respect to them, they do a hard job too, okay? You guys deserve a raise. Thank you.
Dennis, I'm not running again, and you bring this up now? Where were you 4 years ago?
This is not the first time. This is not the first time. Most of these guys have heard me say that.
I'm teasing with you,
Besides,
Dennis.
you don't need
all right.
money for cutting out your remote
We got a long night going here. Thank you, Dennis. Tom Becker, excuse me.
Good evening. My name is Tom Becker. I'm the operations manager for TrueLink Fence Company. I'm just here, item 9 is on the agenda tonight, so I'm just here to answer any questions during any part of the meeting this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker would be Jim Nessie.
Mr. Mayor, all my questions have been answered.
Thank you. Next speaker would be Lynn McGarry.
Lynn McGarry, 14104 Garavogue, Orland Park, Homer Glen, like Dennis says. Here representing the Chamber of Commerce, will be sponsoring the State of the Village luncheon tomorrow, March 26th at 11:30 at Taz's Restaurant. And walk-ins are still welcome, anybody who wants to come and listen. And now I'll change my hat, and I'm here from the Founders Club. We are sponsoring a candidates night also tomorrow, March 26th, at the Americans for Prosperity office at 900 North State from 7 to 9. Candidates for village offices in both Homer Glen and Lockport will participate. Please come out. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. The next speaker would be John Coy. Excuse me.
John Coy, 12056 Venetian Way, Homer Glen. I'm wondering when we're going to get this website that the village is so enthused about that all of a sudden most people I know, or if not all of them, can't get everything they're looking for when it comes to the website. Is this due because it's election time, or is this due because if it's a mistake, or is it the company that's installing it, or what's the problem? I'd like to find out. Is there any news on when it's going to be over and when it's going to be done, when we can use it properly?
Right, like I said, the last time we talked about it in May, and it's going very well. The board has given their opinions on the final look of it just recently, I think maybe a couple weeks back, and they're doing the fine tuning on it. And quite frankly, the existing website, for those of you who've never been on our website, we took down the old one and we had to put up a temporary one while the new one was being constructed. And the temporary website actually has gotten a lot of positive comments. It's a huge improvement over the old one. But the new one will be even better than the temporary one, and it'll be up and running in May, and staff is working very, very hard on it.
You better clarify exactly what you're saying in that statement. Because somebody asked me, they say, okay, when I was looking up Homer Glen website, they said, is this it? Homer Glen 2015. That's Mr. Daly's website for him and his campaign and everything. It's almost the same thing as our website. When you say that we have a temporary one,
The village has had the same
that
website.
don't.
The village has had the same website address, I think, forever. I don't know, as long as I've been here. And so I don't know what you're talking about. We don't get involved in politics, so I don't even know what the other site looks like.
Well, like I say, it's like an advertisement for Homer Glen Village website.
Usually when you put the Village of Homer
2015,
Glen-
and then all of a sudden when you click on it, it's all about the campaign.
Usually when you put the Village of Homer Glen in a search engine, the village's website is the first thing that pops up. That's how it's been for quite some time. It depends on what search engine you're using. But we've had the same municipal address for our website for a long time.
But this is going to be done now next month?
In May, it's good. The new one is being released next May.
How long does it take? How long, when did we sign up with these people?
John, I'm not.
July or
I
something?
am not an expert
That's-
in this. We have a very small staff. We have 13 people. Heather Kokodinsky, who's my assistant, has been working diligently along with 2 other staff members. They've done the best they could. I am sorry that you think it's taken too long. We've tried very hard to work fast on it. These are good, competent people. And I think when it's up and running, everybody's gonna be very impressed with it. But there's been no reason to delay it. There's no purpose of delaying it, other than it's just taking a long time to do it. Heather and various other people on our staff, this is their first shot at working with a company to do a master redo of a website. So things take longer than you first expect. But it's gonna be a great site. I think everyone's gonna be very proud of it.
Hope so. Thanks.
Thank you, Jim. Robert Machette? Machette?
Hi, my name's Bob Mache. I'm a resident of Homer Glen and live in Cypress Point. I just want to thank the mayor for a good winter that we had. About 2+ years ago, I came in front of the board and told them about our lost letter of credit. The mayor worked very hard with us, with the board, to provide us with a street that was accepted by the village. Plowing was done. It was a very good winter compared to last winter, the year before, which was extremely bad. Our streetlights are working. It's been a very good process. The mayor's worked with us on this. It was a sticky situation, as the board members who would remember me when I was up here talked about it before. But again, I would like to thank the mayor, and hopefully the board will continue to work with us in our subdivision. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes public comment. The next portion of this meeting would be report or legislation and action items. This would be K1. Is there a motion to approve the Williams Architectural Professional Architectural Service invoice for 2015 in the amount of $5,352.64?
So moved.
First by trustee DeVivo,
I second.
second by trustee Swees. Is there any questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Kate Janice.
Aye.
Trustee Sabo.
Aye.
Trustee Suisse.
Aye.
Trustee Yukich.
Aye.
Trustee Costa.
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo.
Aye.
Motion carries. We've got to keep it down a little bit so we can get on with the meeting here. This would be, let's see here, hold on a second. This would be K2. Is there a motion to approve resolution number 15-003, a resolution authorizing $65,669.67 reduction of the development guarantee for the Richards Building Supply Development from the current amount of $103,117.30 to the new amount of $37,447.63.
I so moved.
First by trustee Sabo,
Second.
second by trustee Costa. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Sabo.
Aye.
Trustee Suisse.
Aye.
Trustee Yukich.
Aye.
Trustee Costa.
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo.
Aye.
Trustee Kate Janice.
Aye.
Okay. This would be K3. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 15-004, a resolution allowing the completion of certain public improvements within the Goodings Grove PUD Phase 2 by the developer prior to achieving an 85% build-out level in the subdivision? It is understood that the identified public improvements to be completed is the segment of Greystone Drive located within the Goodings Grove PUD Phase 2. In addition, the developer also agrees to extend Greystone Drive approximately 150 feet to provide access to the future Village of Homer Glen's Goodings Grove Park, which is to be located at the current end of Greystone Drive.
So moved.
First by trustee DeVivo,
Second.
second by trustee Kate Janice. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Suisse.
Aye.
Trustee Yukich.
Aye.
Trustee Costa.
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo.
Aye.
Trustee Kate Janice.
Aye.
Trustee Sabo.
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be K4. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 15-015, an ordinance authorizing the placement of 2 traffic control devices stop signs on 139th Street, both eastbound and westbound, at the intersection of Cokes Road?
So moved.
First by trustee Costa, was that Costa?
No, I'll second it,
Yukich.
though. I'll second it.
Second by trustee Costa. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Okay, excuse me,
Yes.
Mayor. Do you know if there was a traffic study done on this, on Cokes Road, or I thought we did it on the other road?
No,
Prairie
there
Hill.
wasn't.
Oh. Don't you think that it would be advisable to have one before we put the stop signs up? Don't we usually do that?
Typically, we do, yes.
They've been done twice? So we do have that on record, that we do have
The traffic study was actually done at 139th Street and Prairie Hill Drive.
Prairie Hill Drive.
Correct.
Is that a distance away from?
It's a couple
how far?
blocks away, about a block away.
Half a block? That's it? Just a half a block?
And there's a bus stop there. And that's the one that we discussed months ago that was supposed to be Coke Street, and somehow it was Prairie Hill.
We had the wrong street last time.
So it's supposed to be Cokes?
It's supposed to be
Cokes. It was supposed to be
And
by
not
the bus
Prairie
stop
Hill.
for the children.
But we did the traffic study at Prairie Hill. Okay. All right.
Any further questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Kajanis?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo? Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 15-016, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 14-084 entitled, an ordinance authorizing the placement of traffic control devices, stop signs, at the intersection of 139th Street and Prairie Hill Drive?
So moved.
First by trustee Yukich.
Second.
Second by trustee Costa. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mayor.
Go right ahead.
What had happened is, when we first did it, we agreed on Cokes for the school bus stop, because there already is one stop sign on Cokes. So this way, we made that one thorough. We have to do another study to see how that one works out. If it works out good, we're done. If we have a problem, then we'll address the problem as soon as it does come up. We'll see about doing a traffic study as soon as the weather gets good to where we don't have the trucks out plowing.
Okay.
I'm a little confused, Mr. Mayor. Okay, we did a traffic study on one, not the other, but so we're gonna vote on this and wait for the weather to be applicable to do another traffic study. So which one are we voting on here? Are we on this one, are we waiting for the weather to become applicable to do a traffic study?
They want to do the speeds count, and they can't do it if there's snow on the ground, because the trucks will rip it up. So we have to wait until at least it's dry on the ground.
They put the pads down.
They put the-
and
so
it counts.
we're gonna vote on-
We voted on Cokes.
Right, so now on Prairie Hill Drive, we're
And
gonna
Prairie
vote
Hill.
on this before the study's done?
We're repealing it right now.
Okay, so, you know, I think they both go together, so I just want to make sure that we're consistent with what trustee DeVivo brought up earlier. So that's all I want to do, is just bring up, to make sure we're the right traffic stop, or study was correct before we repeal anything here.
Okay. Is there any further questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Kajanis?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be case 6. Is there a motion to approve local agency amendment number 1 for federal participation for wetland mitigation for the construction of the south extension to the Heroes Trail in the total amount of $98,750? It is understood that the total amount identified in the amendment number 1 includes the new wetland mitigation cost of $60,000 in addition to the previously approved Phase 2 preliminary engineering cost of $38,750 for a total cost of $98,750. It is also understood that the CMAQ grant requires an 80-20 cost sharing with the local agency, village, responsible for the 20% of the cost. Thus, the village will be responsible for $19,750 of the total cost.
So moved.
First by trustee DeVivo,
Second.
second by trustee Yukich. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I have a question.
Go right ahead, trustee Suisse.
In reference to this wetland purchasing, the credits, has there been any study that we can possibly look at a different type of route so we don't have to go through this wetland?
It's in a section of the ComEd bike trail, or the ComEd right-of-way, where it's pretty much across the entire bike trail, or the right-of-way. We actually, in this location, have shifted the bike trail as much as possible, so it's shifted almost all the way to the east side of the ComEd right-of-way. But no matter what we do, we're still impacting some portion of the wetlands. But this is the minimum that we could possibly impact.
Right, it travels from east
Hey.
to west all the way across the property.
Okay.
Okay, does that answer your question, please?
Yes, it does.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Kajanis?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukic?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Motion carries. This would be K7. Is there a motion to approve an agreement between the Village of Homer Glen and Land and Water Resources, Inc. for the purchase of .495 acres of wetland credits for the wetland mitigation related to the construction of the south extension to the Heroes Trail in the amount of $59,400. It's understood that the village will be required to pay the full amount up front. However, the purchase of the wetlands credits will be included within a CMAQ grant for the construction of the south extension to the Heroes Trail. As a result, the village will be reimbursed for $47,520, which represents 80% of the cost.
So moved.
First by trustee DeVivo,
Second.
second by trustee Sabo. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Trustee Sabo, go right ahead.
On page 2, it says that the credits will be at the Lily Cache Wetland Mitigation Bank. And is that the closest one to our watershed? This isn't in our watershed, is it?
Yeah, typically they try to be as close as they can. Also, we're looking at the least cost as well too, but they do try to get it as close as possible to the same watershed.
But there isn't any mitigation bank within our watershed?
Not that I'm aware of.
This is actually, this is the Des Plaines, which is our
Which
watershed.
is,
It's,
okay.
it's the larger watershed. Long Run and Spring Creek are in the smaller.
Okay, because as you know, trustee DeVivo, that when we worked on the stormwater ordinance, that we wanted it
We
within
wanted
our
to
watershed.
bank it, yeah,
So my
well.
reason for asking.
Maybe someday we'll have, maybe on the open space, we'll have wetland banking. That'd be great.
Okay.
We'd make a ton of money.
Is there any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Kate Janice?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukic?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Okay, this would be K8. Is there a motion to recommend approval of the proposal from HR Green for the preparation of as-built plans for the Village of Homer Glen's Erin Hills Park for a not-to-exceed amount of $1,380?
So moved.
First by trustee DeVivo,
Second.
second by trustee Kate Janice. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukic?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Kate Janice?
Aye.
Okay, this is 9. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 15-017? An ordinance granting a special use to permit outdoor storage, a variance to permit an outdoor storage area in a corner side yard, a variance to permit an outdoor storage area in a side yard, a variance to permit a fence in the corner side yard in a commercial district, a variance to permit a fence over 4 foot in height in the corner side yard, and how do you pronounce that?
Opacity.
Opacity. Who uses
I
that
did the
word?
same thing, I know.
And an opacity exceeding 50%. A variance to permit a reduction in the number of off-street parking spaces, 12 to 5. A variance to permit off-street parking in the required front yard, and a variance from minimum landscape corner side yard requirements for Peerless Enterprises, Inc., DBS Peerless Fence, operating under lease at the subject property located at 15901 South Parker Road, Homer Glen, Illinois, as recommended by the Plan Commission.
So moved.
First by trustee Costa,
Second.
second by trustee Yukic. Is there any questions?
I did have a question.
Go right ahead, trustee Sabo.
I do see that we do have a visual aid here that shows the type of fence that will be here. And it's a dressier fence. It's much more attractive than what is there or is not there at this moment. I went by there and then part of the fence is missing. So if you're up at the podium, I'd just like for you to explain this then.
The existing, good evening, by the way, and Tom
Go ahead.
Becker, Operations Manager for TrueLink Fence Company, which is a, TrueLink Fence, as your packet does state, and Peerless Fence have merged. And so this will be one of the, this will only be the third building that we're going to be doing business under. The fencing that is existing there was put in prior to us putting in an offer for this, and the current landowner of it has stated that he refuses to take down any more of the fence other than what the IDOT is taking for this. The new fence that we will be installing that goes from his existing fence over to it is a much more visual appealing fence. It complies within all city codes. If we had our way, yes, we would probably replace the whole fence, but the property owner has stated that he did not want any more fencing to be taken down other than what's there.
Okay, so there's only one section of it, and that's the part that faces the road? That 159th
The
Street?
section of it that goes, it runs north and south along Parker. All the rest of it has been taken down. The property, the fencing that went along 159th and that came back from 159th to Parker has been taken down entirely, and that fence will not be going back up. That
Okay.
one, we are going to leave that down.
Okay, so no fence on 159th.
Correct.
Okay.
Landscaping.
Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukic?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Kajani?
Aye.
Trustee Sable?
Aye.
Motion carries. That concludes legislation and action items for tonight. The next portion of this meeting is the presentation of the proposed budget for fiscal year beginning May 1st, 2015 and ending April 30th, 2016. Take it away, guys.
Thank you, Mayor and Board. So, just wait a moment. Okay, very good. So we're actually having this presentation, this workshop presentation tonight a little bit earlier than we've done the past couple years. I have given this presentation actually.
Oh, hold on. Bob? Go ahead.
Thank you. I've actually given this presentation a couple times in April, so we're doing this a little bit earlier, and it's by design so that we have more time to discuss any potential changes that the mayor and board may want. The public hearing for the proposed board budget has actually been advertised and is on April 8th, and that's customary practice. So there will be an opportunity for the public on April 8th to comment on the budget, anything that they have questions about or things that the public would like to see changed, so the board can hear that. The proposed budget has been up online. I think the day that the board received it, it went up online, and so it's there for everyone to see on our website. There's also a copy that looks very much like this. The budget is about 79 pages big in the small folder here. Got a cover on it. There's a copy here at Village Hall. I know that several residents have already been in to look at it. Anyone who comes in and would like a copy of it, the staff will certainly accommodate them and make copies for them. The actual budget pages that have the spreadsheets that you see, line items and stuff like that, they don't make up the full 79 pages. A part of the display that you're going to see today, the PowerPoint presentation, is intermixed amongst the pages to try to better explain it. And so that's what I'm going to go through today. John and I are going to do it together. We'll do it as quickly as possible, and please just interject, board. If you just say wait, then we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about on the page that we are. So this is our proposed budget. Just as a summary, I always like to do a summary at the start. There's no new taxes. There's capital investments and a new park and some trails as part of our Hero Trail system. There's capital investment money that's been budgeted for stormwater improvements. There's completion of capital investments in intersection improvements that the village and other governmental entities have started, so we need to finish those and pay for those. It's a very fiscally conservative budget, as we typically have had, and we try to take as much action as we can now and kind of plan for the future, and the budget accounts for that. I will just say that the budget that's being presented today is a proposed budget, and the mayor and the board have typically, over the past couple of years, always made changes here and there to it. They've added some things, taken some things away. So we'll go through it, and then the board may be making changes to it over time before it's finally approved. So there's a balanced general fund, which is always great. We've had balanced general funds for quite a while of $8.4 million. If you don't mind in public, I'll kind of shorten the numbers, otherwise you'll be hearing me say numbers all night long. Overall, we have 10 funds here in the village budget, and the total budgeted revenues are $12.4 million. And there's obviously 10 funds with budgeted expenses, and the budgeted expenses are $8.1 million. Now, in every community, they have budgets, and they have funds, just like we do. A lot of communities have more than 10. And communities always, of course, strive to have balanced general funds, and that's what we've done here, and we've done these past couple of years. Very rarely do you see a municipality that actually has a balanced budget over all of their funds. And the reason for that is because a lot of those 10 funds are capital funds. And what you do in capital funds, we'll use an example, our motor fuel tax fund. You save money in a motor fuel tax fund for many years, and then you decide to spend it, millions of dollars on intersection improvements like we've done here in the community this past year. So of course, when you look at the overall budgeted expenses across all the funds, it's usually higher than the budgeted revenues because you've saved up to do some capital expenses. So these are our 10 funds, and they are remaining the same as in previous years, except we've eliminated one, which I'll talk about in a minute. I won't read them all off, but they're pretty stereotypical funds. The largest fund is the general fund, and then you have an environment fund, special event fund, capital project funds, etc. We've removed one fund, and it's all about good news, this removal. The mayor and the village board and previous village boards over many years saved up a lot of money to pay off a commitment that a village board made many years ago, which was the tollway connection at 143rd. And this past year, we sent $1 million and some odd check to the Tollway Authority to pay that off. So the tollway fund that we've had in the budget for many years has gone away, and that's good news. So this is a great summary sheet. Again, you can find it online. It summarizes the proposed budget very nicely. You see all the 10 funds, multicolored on the left. The center column is all the revenues for those 10 funds, again, matching that bottom number that I mentioned a minute ago, $12.4 million. And then you see the expenses at $18.1. These pie charts can be very useful, kind of give you a quick snapshot. So these are the 10 funds, the budgeted revenue of $12.4 million. And obviously you see the general fund is at 67%. That brings in the lion's share of the revenue for the village operation. And then you see a debt service fund at 21, MFT at 5, park and recreation at 3, and then all the smaller funds which are listed off to the left that make up the 10 funds I mentioned previously, those come in at 4%. So this kind of tells the picture of how important the general fund revenue is to our spending, to our revenue stream here at the village. This is an expenditure pie chart. Again, $18.1 million. The general fund is at 46%, so a lion's share of the spending that we have planned is coming out of the general fund. And then there's the debt service fund at 11, the MFT fund at 5, the park and recreation fund at 6%, the capital project fund at 18%, the CIP bond fund at 13%, and then all of these small other funds, land acquisition, environment, CIP, EAB, tree fund, etc., are just 1%. So, the general fund, John and I actually, as we go through these 10 funds, we're gonna kind of switch off back and forth here a little bit. I'm gonna start out with the general fund. So these are the revenue sources that make up the $8.4 million in revenues for the general fund. The number one revenue source is sales tax, and this has been true for many, many years here at the village. We're very fortunate that the sales tax is increasing year to year, so we're benefiting from that. The second largest revenue source is state shared income tax at $2.3 million, reimbursements at $1.3, state and local use tax at $469,000, and then there's a mixture of other revenues that get us down to the 8.4, including building permits, contractor registration, cable TV franchise fees that are paid by the residents of the community on their bills, miscellaneous fees, licenses, permits, things of that nature, liquor and gaming licenses, fines and forfeitures. One of the new revenue sources on this list is the gaming tax, part of the state's law. When all the gaming operations that are in the community and bars and restaurants, there's a tax that comes back to the village, and so that is $81,000 in this budget. And then a miscellaneous, all other small revenue sources at $10,500. This gives you a real quick snapshot of the importance of sales tax and state income tax to the village. And then all other revenues make up 34%. This tells you a little bit about why state income tax is so important to the village of Homer Glen and to all municipalities across the state. There's some proposals in Springfield now to cut some shared revenue from all the municipalities. As a matter of fact, the proposal that's currently on the table cuts over $50 million from municipalities and the county here in Will County. The state legislature is busy discussing that with the governor, but this is how state income tax receipts have benefited the village of Homer Glen over the past couple of years. You see that there's been a steady increase, and it's been very helpful to us. These are proposed expenditures in this budget. The number one line item is, as it has been for many, many years here in the village, if not all the years going back, it's been our line item for public safety contractual services with Will County. It's at $4.2 million. The next line item is much smaller than that. That's the $1.3 million that makes up all of the personnel and benefits here at the village. The building department, the engineering, planning, zoning, finance, EMA, the elected officials, administration, everything comes in that $1.3 million. Our public works payout, the road and bridge levy to the township road district is at $1.2 million. And then there are smaller expenditures, sales tax incentive agreements, and this is a great line item to have. The higher that sales tax incentive line item in your expenditures goes, that means the more things that are being purchased in the community, the more revenue you're getting on the revenue side. So for the public's benefit, I know the board knows this, but this $520,000 is made up of payments that we give back to the Homer Town Center, Menards, Myers, and now also in this budget cycle to Big R, which will be opening up very soon. So that the village has separate agreements with all those entities. They get some sales tax, we get some sales tax. So this is the payout for that at the end of the year. Then there's other contractual services. There's a lot of other contractual services that goes into that $287,000. Everything from mosquito abatement, which is one, to engineering, all sorts of things that go into that $287,000. That's where the village contracts out for services, our finance services for John here, who's part-time with us. A lot of things go into that $287,000. Then there's an all other expenditures category at $263,000. These past couple of years, I've broken out the office rents in the proposed budget. This is for the Village Hall and the EMA facility that we rent. That's at $243,000. There is a contingency built into the general fund of $120,000, which is a nice contingency to build in. Director Sawyers and I built this in on purpose. We are hoping that down in Springfield, when very logical and cooler heads prevail, that they will no longer be seeking 50% of shared revenue from municipalities and counties all over the state, that they'll be looking at something closer to 5%, which is, you hear different things, but we've been hearing that a little bit lately. That amount actually equals 5% if we were to lose 5% of state shared revenue. And so John and I have strategically put that in for the contingency. Now, the board has had a contingency for the past couple of years, been fortunate to be able to budget for a contingency. This last year, I don't believe we've spent anything out of it. You typically don't unless some emergency comes up. So I don't think if we had to turn that $120,000 over as lost revenue to the state, I don't think it would greatly impact us unless we had an emergency in town, unless there was something that we had to spend money on. And then, of course, this village board is very fortunate in that you have, over the years, developed some very comfortable fund balances. And if we have major catastrophes, not wishing it on us, but some communities do, if we have major catastrophes, we can rely back on those, of course, which is very nice. And then our legal expenditures at $99,000, coming to the $8.4 million. So these are the breakouts of the, by pie chart of the general fund expenditures. The public safety contract is about 51%. That's with the sheriff's office. And then all other general fund expenses are 34%, and then the public works contract at 15%. So these are some major initiatives that are included in this budget, and I will quickly read through them. There is, as I have reported previously, an increase in the sheriff's services costing approximately $395,347. Now, this is how this has worked in your relationship with the county over these many years. Some years, the increases are very reasonable and small. You've had some years where they've been very, very small increases. The reason why they blip on occasion, and you get a large number like this, and this is absolutely a large number, is because they have contractual services with all their deputies and support staff. And those contracts oftentimes take years to negotiate. We read about this in the paper if you follow the stories that come out of the county. So you can have years where there's very minimal increases because contracts are being negotiated, and they're negotiated for years and years. And then all of a sudden, you get two contracts, you get one contract, two contracts, one big contract, settled, and boom, there's big increases. And so over the course of your contract, as I look back historically, and John can give you some frame of reference on this too, historically, you've had blips. You've gone like this, and then you've got spiked up, and then you've gone like this, and then you've spiked up, depending on their contractual obligations with their sheriff, deputies, and support staff. So that's the layman's explanation on that. Now, this proposed budget represents the existing services that you have had for years and that you've come to enjoy and that you've been experiencing. The village board, the next village board, this village board can make decisions to adjust those services. If you would like to cut back on the number of deputies, this number goes down. And it goes down significantly by deputy. If that's information that you'd like, John and I can certainly prepare that and give that to you. You can make adjustments to that contract at any point. They would not like you to make multiple adjustments, like one month, the next month, they'd like you to tell them what your expectations are, for the next 10 to 12 months. But if you would like to cut back on some services, try to reduce that number, we can do that. They're willing to work with us. So that's something that you can discuss, and we can make changes at any point.
I'd like to interrupt you at this point.
Yes.
When you say that we could cut back, what are some possible ways to do that? I know that's a big increase, almost $400,000.
Certainly. So the most impactful way, okay, in other words, the way to create the greatest savings is to have a discussion about the number of deputies that you have on serving us, okay, during the shifts here at the village. And maybe you decide that you would like to cut back a deputy on the evening shift, okay? Or maybe you decide that with the advice of Mark and taking, so maybe you can cut back on an afternoon shift deputy, okay? And so you change the expectation in terms of the number of personnel that serve the community, okay? Because most of this contract is all about personnel, the sheriff deputies that are here, okay? And if you remove one deputy, you're not just saving, 45 grand, you're saving 6 figures plus with one deputy, because it's salary, it's benefits, it's car expense, it's travel, it's, all those things. So, since I've been here, the board has repeated the services that have been in place. Of course, it's probably one of the reasons why crime rates have gone down, and we're in a good position that way here in the community. But a lot of communities during this downturn, of course, have had cutbacks for their public safety personnel, and it might be something that you want to consider. Now, we've been able to balance the budget with this increase. So maybe you decide you don't want to. This is an important enough service that you want to keep it exactly like it is. I would encourage you to think about having the discussion. I think it would be a healthy discussion to have. Take into consideration the lieutenant's advice on it, and see if there isn't some way that we could achieve some savings. So it's all personnel based.
Well, of course, we're number one in safety, and we'd love to stay that way. And I'm just looking at the increase, and I really think we should discuss it, evaluate it, and hear from Mark Fish on that. And I'm not at this time saying that that's what we should do, but I think that we need more information on this, and just to analyze it and see if it's wise to do it.
Well, the great thing about it, just one final comment out, the great thing about it is that you have a general fund that's balanced with this, and this would be the highest and most concentrated service that you would have. So if the village board decided, a future village board decided to cut back on that service, well, then you would just have savings, and those savings could go into contingency. They would help balance, help the next year's budget. Especially if the state takes more than 5% in shared revenue, and they take 10% or something like that, and then you need some more revenue, maybe then that's a good opportunity for you to look for savings that way. So,
one thing that I have said more than one time during a budget discussion is we never have any percentage, say, of traffic violations that comes back to us. And I've asked that since the beginning of this village. And I don't know if that question has ever gotten to the sheriff's police, but it's other communities may do something like this, or may, but I'd like to know if that's possible.
The revenue currently goes back into the general fund at the county. They have said, since I've been here, that they take that into consideration in the amount that they charge us for services. So that's as much as I can tell you regarding that. Number 3 is we've obviously budgeted for some pretty substantial increases in gaming tax and gaming license and application fees. I think we have one more new gaming operation that's going to be going in place. That's the golf course, I think, is going to be coming online here pretty sudden. But there are people utilizing this. It's obviously benefiting those businesses that have gaming in the community, and we're benefiting through the tax revenue that comes back. There's some economic development promotional efforts that are budgeted for, not a significant number, but there's some money for that. We have budgeted for continued taping and communication of the village board meetings, budgeted for maintenance of the completed Village Hall website, budgeted for the final completion of the codification process, and I know that our village attorney is in the final stages of his review of that, and so that's moving along. And then these additional initiatives. We budgeted $16,000 to add one part-time development services inspector that we've also eliminated the administrative intern program in this budget. So as you know, we have Jim Walikowski, who's part-time and works about 18 hours a week and helps Director Salamovich out with all of our projects that are going on around the community. And there are so many things going on, and of course the board has been very aggressive with wanting to do more stormwater improvements, which takes up a lot of Mike's time, that we really feel, so that we do not fall behind, that we need additional assistance. So we've budgeted for a part-time person for that, if the board is willing to support that. We've budgeted, of course, to continue the mosquito abatement program. There's money in the budget for 2 village newsletters. We do intend to do an email blast kind of newsletter situation with a new website that'll have that capability, so that will help augment that. There's budgeted for continued commitment to staff professional development, which has been very important these past few years. There are no general fund transfers to other budgetary funds. We budgeted $4,800 to reinstate the summer assistants in the building department. We have someone that comes in the summer to help Joe and his staff when it gets just tremendously busy in the summer. And so we've put $4,800 back into the budget for that. And then, of course, I already mentioned the contingency line item. Now, John is going to swing over to the special event fund and kind of do that. Trustee Sable, go ahead.
I had a question about 2 newsletters. At one time, we were doing 4 a year.
Right.
And I don't know that we had one. Do we have one this past year?
We did not.
Okay.
Well, I budgeted for 2 because I think there's a reality in terms of our staff being able to produce them, the time that it takes. Now that we've been able to add Elena Bose as a part-time, and we think we can achieve 2, and then we're going to really focus heavily on using our new website to try to get more information out on a weekly and monthly basis. So we think that'll end up being, like it is for a lot of communities, the main way that we communicate with residents versus a paper newsletter. John, would you like to go with the special event fund?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
Trustee
can,
Cox.
before you go on. You know, a couple times in this presentation, you talked about the $120,000 contingency for a
Right.
5% reduction in our income from the state. Have staff, anybody been looking at what if the state does reduce us by 50%? That, you know, we stand to lose over $1 million out of this budget. Has there been any talk, any other contingencies figured in here saying where are we going to get this money from?
Like most, that's a very good question, Trustee Gossett. Like a lot of communities that have May 1 fiscal years, of course, the state's is June, July 1. A lot of communities are moving forward, trying to prepare for the 5-10% scenario, moving forward with their budget, and then saying, listen, if the state makes these decisions to go up higher, it's such a huge number. I mean, you know, all the way from the city of Chicago, it's hundreds of millions of dollars. I think Naperville is like $20 to $30 million. I mean, it's such a huge number that obviously we will have to come back to the village board and say, okay, here's our list of 25, 30 things that could be done to bridge this gap if they come anywhere close to 50%. No one, from all the people that we're talking to, the Will County Governmental League, the Illinois Municipal League, nobody thinks that they're going to do 50% because it's just so devastating. Like I said, just here in Will County, it's $50 million out of the pockets of the governmental entities in this county. It's just devastating. So I think what we're doing is we're trying to responsibly plan for 5. If we have to do 10, we can come back with some things. It might not hurt too bad. If we have to go to 50, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt in every community. And so we will come back and give you a list, and then you'll have to make decisions. The first year that I was here as manager, we had to go, if you remember, we had to go through a process of eliminating expenditures. It was several $100,000, I think. And we went through that process. We gave you a list, a bigger list. You pared it down, and we would go through that same process. And it might include, we'd give you the whole thing so you could make a decision. It might include new revenues, and then it would include cuts. So,
okay, thank you.
Yep.
Mike, I went and listened to Rauner's speech, and it had representatives from almost every community, and 50% is almost impossible to conceive because it would bankrupt quite a few villages, you know. And villages that don't have the latitude that we have, being a home rule community, you know, you just couldn't put it on them. There were people that spoke that it's sort of a much smaller, much larger community that gets decimated in the situation. The Napervilles, the Chicagos, the Joliets, the number is just massive. And then the smaller communities where one community only had 2 police officers. They said, we have nowhere to cut, you know, you just bankrupt this village, you know. So I don't realistically see that number even being close to the number that it'll be. There will be some type of cut. 5% is a beginning of a savings account for that. My gut feeling would be somewhere between 5 and 10%. Just from hearing all the communities. Go ahead, Kim. Go ahead.
Okay, the next fund, the Special Event Fund, was created a couple years ago. It was carved out of the general fund. It's still considered a restricted general fund, but it's now separately accounted for with separate cash accounts. It has a projected opening balance on May 1st, cash balance of $54,500, which came from some seed money via transfers, and also from 2 successful years of the community festival. So it's really done quite well in a short period of time. The budgeted revenues are $83,500. That comes from the committee, the Special Event Committee. And the budgeted expenses, if you could flip the screen here. Actually, go 2 screens. They consist of the budgeted or forecasted expenses of the festival. I'm going to jump to line 3, which is the Homer Harvest Day special events. Item 2 is a kind of a place setter for if the festival does as well as it has done in the past, it would owe 50% of its profit back to the township. So it's nothing more than a place setter. If that was to actually incur, the fund would do quite well because it would have $40,000 of additional revenue above and beyond. So we have a very conservative budget here with kind of a break-even presentation with a scenario if the fund was actually had performed as it did in the past, we could pay that out without having to amend the budget. So the total expenses are $121,450, and that represents the continued operation of this fund as it had been since the beginning in 2013. The festival co-sponsorship, as well as the Homer Harvest Day co-sponsorship.
Very good. Anybody have any questions about that fund? Okay, I'll move on to the Environment Fund. So the Environment Fund is was also created not too long ago, in the same scenario that John mentioned about the Special Event Fund. It has an estimated fund balance on May 1 of $41,938. There's budgeted revenue of $34,400. And budgeted expenses of $37,100. So the ending cash investments, if everything was, all the revenue came in and all the budgeted expenses went out, the ended balance would be $39,100. So there's really only 2 revenue sources here, and this is the environmental surcharge that comes from our waste contract, and then the Earth Day, Arbor Day event revenue. So if Earth Day, Arbor Day event revenues increases, then that line item might be a little bit higher. But the environmental surcharge has been pretty stable over the years. So the total, again, is $34,400 on the revenue side. The expenditures, here you see before you, 1 to 10. There's, again, money budgeted for professional services related to the lighting ordinance. There's budgeted amount of $9,000 for Earth Day, Arbor Day event. There's $4,000 for the Dragonfly area maintenance. There is $800 for some tree planting events that the Environment Committee has typically done. Some dues and memberships, some money for awards. There's $1,000 in for conferences and training that relates to environmental stewardship and awareness and things of that nature. Then there's $6,300 down for the maintenance of the 151st and Belle Prairie area. And then some money set aside for the Lands Day event and stargazing event, just a little bit of money for miscellaneous, and that makes up to $37,180.
I had a question about this. Where is the tree planting for the Parkway Tree Program? Is that in this section?
No, that is in the EAB, what do we call it?
Okay.
It's in another fund.
Yes, that's right.
We'll
Okay,
get to
thank
that
you.
here in just a little bit.
Thank you.
So, again, this was established in 2013, and I pretty much mentioned all these things already, but this is just a nice little summary of all the initiatives that are in this fund. Any questions about that fund from anybody? Okay, very good. John's going to go ahead and do the MFT fund now for you.
Motor fuel tax fund, we're very fortunate. It has a very healthy balance, estimated to begin the year with at $2.3 million. The budgeted revenue is primarily from the motor fuel taxes, which is a per capita tax. We project from a factor that the Illinois Municipal League provides at $23.80 per resident. We had, up until last year, we were getting some capital bill money. So we had this Illinois Jobs Capital Bill. Okay. Item 2, we were getting around $108,000 or $109,000 per year for 6 years under this Illinois Jobs Now Capital Bill, and that just recently expired. That's partly how we grew the balance to be what it was. We will continue to get the high growth MFT money at $26,000 or $7,000 with interest income of about $4,000. So the total revenue is forecasted at $607,000. The expenditures for MFT are the completion of the project at 143rd and Lamont Road. We have an intergovernmental agreement for $183,600 with the road district. That represents the motor fuel tax that the township, the road district was getting when they began the agreement with the village. We're now going to be taking on streetlight signals, electricity and maintenance at $65,000. We have a new program for streetlight replacement project. That actually represents 2 years because we're running out of time for this fiscal year 15. So it's actually $200,000 for 15 and 16 budgeted next year. There's $120,000 that's a place setter for a right-of-way acquisition relating to the 143rd and Lamont project. We've had that on the books for several years now. As this project comes to a completion, we'll see if it actually is incurred. Hopefully it doesn't, and it just goes away. We have some small amount budget for street signage. We're going to be picking up the underground utility survey services. The highway district was, fortunately, they were picking that up for us in previous years, and it wasn't really part of the contract, so we'll be taking that on in the next fiscal year. And we have $4,000 for engineering for the streetlight replacement project. So that's the total expenses of $859,000, which would leave us with the a balance of in excess of $2 million upon completion.
I have a question on 7.
Okay.
Is that Julie that you're referring to?
That is Julie.
Okay.
That is Julie, yes. And if I could just go back to the capital bill item in number 2 on the revenue. So we mentioned last year when we did the budget presentation that this was going away. Every community in the state received this. What the state did several years ago is they went out and they bonded for a lot of money, and they handed over a lot of that money to municipalities on a yearly basis through MFT, and to spur economic development, to spur road construction, intersection improvements, put people to work, things of that nature. And so we all knew it was going away, and now it's gone away, and that's happened in every community in the state. So any MFT questions that anybody has? Pretty straightforward. Very good. The land acquisition fund is even more straightforward. It has a estimated beginning fund balance of over $1 million on May 1. We've budgeted $3,000 for interest, and there's no budgeted expenses. So at the end of the year, you're gonna have roughly the same amount that you started with. Obviously, this originally was intended to be a fund that saved up money for the acquisition of a village hall space, to save up money potentially maybe for park sites or any kind of land that the board would want to purchase. And it remains available for those purposes. The money in its entirety has all been general fund money that's been transferred in over a period of years into this fund. It's all basically sales tax money that's been transferred in. Fair to say?
Yes.
Yeah. So that makes up that fund. It's pretty straightforward. Should the village board, over the course of next year, decide they want to purchase something, then of course that fund is available to them. So the Park and Recreation Fund is next, and I'm going to just continue on and talk. Right now, the estimated beginning fund balance on May 1 is $2.3 million. There's budgeted revenue of about $340,000, less budgeted expenses of just over $1 million for an ending fund balance of about $1.6 million. As we say every year, there is a restricted amount of $173,000 that's being held, has been held for many years, that was related to the Goodings Grove subdivision, the donation from the developer there to use for that park. So these are the revenues broken down. So the first one is an interesting one. We've kept it in the budget as a place setter because we're hoping it comes back. The governor has put several hundred actually state park grants on a moratorium across the whole state. We're on one, Chicago's on one, every other community that got one is on one. And they're telling us that they don't want us to spend any money related to park grant programs at this time. But they're not saying the money is never going to come back. And actually, over the course of my career, this has happened at least once, if not 2 times, when the state has come in. It happened, I think, in Governor Ryan's time, where the state has put moratoriums and then they've gone back and put them back into play. So we've kept it in this budget for Goodings Grove at $170,000. There's CMAQ Heroes Trail grants. Of course, those are federal grants of $122,000. Park contributions of $20,000. That comes from new homes that go up in the community, and we expect some of those obviously in the coming year. Donations, Heroes Trail benches, things of that nature. That's what the $12,000 is. We're being very optimistic and hoping that we get that ComEd grant that we applied for, that $10,000 park planning grant. So we've put that in as a revenue line item. And then, of course, interest income making up the total for $340,000. Then on the expenditure side of things, there is $420,000 in expenditure for the Goodings Grove Park. There's $303,000 for the remaining cost of the Heroes Trail development, the southern extension that you approved an item for tonight. Then you have owned land in the Glenview Walk subdivision for quite some time. It's a small pocket park site. The Parks and Recreation Committee held a public meeting for everyone in the subdivision and for the public in general to come and give them feedback on that. The Park and Rec Committee would like to come to the village board this next year with a proposal to do a very small pocket park with some apparatus and a fence and some walkways and things of that nature. They think they can achieve that for $125,000. So that's been budgeted in. I will just say that the subdivision as a whole, when it's built out, will have contributed significantly more than that to the Park and Recreation Fund from development fees. So that's in here. Then park and trail maintenance, mowing, landscaping, this is the whole item. So this is every park we own. It includes the future Village Hall property, includes Stonebridge, all the other parks. Erin Hills has been added, includes our trails. That's what that line item is about. Then we have park equipment installation and maintenance. This is, occasionally we have park equipment that gets vandalized. We've had that happen. It's a normal thing when you run parks, so there's money in for that. Maintenance of the equipment, which needs to be done regularly. There's a $5,000 budgeted to do landscaping around the new flagpoles in Stonebridge Park. Then there's $4,000 for electric, water, administration. And then $90,000 that's been put in for Woodbine Master Plan project. The $10,000 grant that's on the revenue side would obviously offset $10,000 of that for a cost to the village of $80,000. That makes up the just over $1 million expenditures. This is, as part of the trails, I just have a couple more quick, then I'll take some questions. This yellow that you see is one of those, we have a grant that's out that we're hoping will be successful for the Goodings Grove School connection to the Heroes Trail system, and that yellow is what highlights there. And then this blue, I know it's really hard to see, all those blue lines that you see are kind of back-to-back trail shots of the southern extension of the Heroes Trail that will take our Heroes Trail from basically just west of where we're sitting all the way down to 159th Street. So, Trustee Yukich, yes, please.
For number 4, park and trail maintenance, mowing and landscaping, the $96,000, that includes the grounds at the golf course?
It does.
We've already got a quote on that?
No, the RFQ went out this week, it's been advertised, so it's out and about. And we may have to adjust that up, or maybe we'll be able to save some money, we don't know. When it comes back, which we expect it to do shortly here in the next couple of weeks, then the board will be voting on that.
And what did we pay last year minus the golf course?
A little bit over 20,000.
For everything? For all the parks?
Parks, for the trails, et cetera.
What did you
Yep.
say?
Parks, trails,
What was the amount?
a little over 20.
And then the other one, the Woodbine Master Plan, that's to do the engineering, or that's to do engineering and park plan?
No, that's your to hire a consultant to work with you probably over more than a year. Might take it more than a year, who knows, but I put the entire amount in this budget as a place setter. Now, the board may decide to spend less than that. You may decide to spend more than that. I had to put some place setter in. I thought 90,000 was a fair amount. But we won't know until that RFQ goes out, we get proposals back, and the board makes their decision. The great thing about that is, it is the Park and Recreation Fund. You do have a fund balance. If the board would so choose to go over 90,000, you'd have that ability to do that. I just had to put a place setter in, so that's what I put in.
Okay.
I did do some checking. There are communities that have spent less, and there are communities that have spent more. So,
okay.
Depends on how detailed you want the park planning to be, and how much public involvement you want, how many public meetings you want, things of that nature. They can all affect the cost.
Okay.
Someone else, I didn't catch who else. Yes, Trustee DeVivo.
I don't know if this is the time where we can probably discuss this, but I'd like to add some engineering cost onto this budget for the next extension of a trail system, so that, because now with a CMAQ grant, you have to have the engineering done. The Phase 1 engineering has to be done before you can apply for the grant. So I don't want to be so far behind on this. We need to keep applying for these grants so that we can keep moving forward. And this would be a trail system that would be from Culver Park, and it would extend over to Woodbine. So it would be an excellent opportunity to extend the trail to an area that really needs it, where the sports complex is and so forth, so.
So Director Salamovich just informed me that that would probably be like around $28,000 to $30,000 to get all of the paperwork together to make sure that we would qualify for a grant. We did the same thing for Goodings Grove Extension, didn't we? Didn't we do?
Yes.
Yes. So if that's the village board's wishes, that could be incorporated in the Park and Recreation Committee. Mayor, do you want to do a quick rundown and see if that's acceptable as an addition?
Sure. With Marcia's recommendation, does anybody have a problem putting that in that fund?
No.
Okay. Okay, very good. Thank you. Appreciate that feedback. Okay. All right, so our next fund is the debt service fund, and John is, Director Sawyers is going to address that.
Yeah, the debt service fund was created out of the 2012 bond ordinance, which stated that the home rule sales tax was to be restricted for debt retirement exclusively. And of course, the expenditures represent the amortized payback of the debt. So at the beginning of the projected opening cash balance, May 1st of 15, is expected to be around $820,000. The revenue, which is home rule sales tax, is forecasted at $2.6 million, and the budgeted expenses, which represent the bond interest and principal, are a shade under $2 million. The bond amortization schedule is at about $2 million every year until the last payment, which is December 1st of 2022. At the rate that the fund is going, it's accumulating nice surpluses, and it should have plenty of funds available to retire the debts timely.
Can I ask one, I'm sorry, could I ask one question?
Yes, trustee Goss.
You say in the debt service fund, the budgeted revenue of $2.6 million represents a 1% home sales tax, correct?
Yes.
Okay, in the general fund, you have revenue source of 1% sales tax at $3,139,000. Why the difference?
Home rule sales tax is not on groceries or pharmaceuticals or titled assets.
Okay.
Right. We don't earn 2% from everything.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Very good. That was a quick one. All right, so the next one is Capital Project Fund. The Capital Project Fund has an estimated beginning balance on May 1 of $4.5 million. There's budgeted revenue of about $332,000 and projected budgeted expenses of $3.1 million, so that the ending cash and investments would be $1.7 million. These are the initiatives that we've included in the proposed budget. The first one is the installation of new tornado sirens in the community. This $26,000 would pay, we hope, for the addition of 2 new tornado sirens. This is, of course, a public safety concern, and we want to try to stay ahead of this issue so that we can guarantee full coverage in the community. So that's what that is. That's a very nice public safety initiative to have. Then there's future Bruce Road improvements at $159,000. You want to talk about that for a minute, John?
Well, it's per an annexation agreement, and it's in the revenue, and it's also in as an expense, so it's a net zero impact on the fund balance of the capital project fund.
Thank you. I have put in $257,500 for the board to consider additional improvements in non-LOC subdivisions if the board decides to do that. Of course, that is totally up to the board on a case-by-case basis. I just wanted there to be some money budgeted so that if you decided you wanted to do that, you could go ahead and move in that direction. Then we have, of course, money available to us, about $46,000 to do additional improvements in the Hunt Club Meadows subdivisions through the letter of credit that was pulled, and so that is shown, that is in the budget. Then we have the remaining expenditures for 151st and Parker. That's the intersection improvement at $120,000. The Village Hall renovations are budgeted the same as they were last year, same amount. The remaining architectural fees per our agreement with Williams Architects, I put a contingency in the fund of $50,000, which of course would only be spent if the board felt it was necessary. And then there's $15,000 for work on the Farmview lift station, and all of those amounts total up to the expenditures that are budgeted $3.1 million.
Question?
Yes.
Okay. Number 3, non-LOC subdivision improvements, which ones would you be?
Well, you have
directing
a
that
number of subdivisions still that we have not made improvements in that are non-LOC. And what I wanted to do, obviously, Mike and I don't feel that the remaining expenditures that we might decide to do would equal anything close to what you did in Glenview Walk, Cypress Point, things of that nature. But we wanted the future village board to have the flexibility to go in and make some limited improvements in some subdivisions if they decided to do so. Now, if the board decides that they don't want to do that in those remaining, I think, 4 subdivisions that we have, then that's fine. But I wanted there to be a place setter in case the board decided they wanted to.
Did you have some in mind?
There are 4 other subdivisions, and I can email that to everyone tomorrow if you'd like. I get all the names, sometimes I get them wrong, but we have 4, I think we have 4 more non-LLC subdivisions.
Okay, I have
that you
another
haven't done any
question.
improvements in.
I have another question.
Or I could also say, it might be that you decide that there's something in the non-LLC subdivisions that we already did improvements on that you want to go back and look at, and that you could use that money for that too.
Okay, my other question, you do have number 4, you do have on Club Meadows. We do, you don't mention Cedar Brook. Is there a reason we do have some money left over in with the LOC money?
Yeah, where's Cedar Brook?
We were gonna.
So we can get back to you about that, but we have that money and it's available to use.
Right, we do, and we've had a discussion.
It's not a lot,
at the board
but-
level. It just isn't mentioned here. Should it be put in?
We'll double check on that, and if we need to make adjustments to make sure that's included, we'll do that. It's
Okay.
not a lot of money, but we want to make sure that it's accounted for, because I
I-
think the board's wishes are that we use that for some lighting adjustments.
Well, I thought there were about 60,000.
30?
30.
Yeah, we'll get back to you tomorrow. We'll let the whole, we'll CC something to the entire board on that.
Okay.
Sounds familiar.
Okay. All right, so the next fund that I'll quickly go through is one that is very exciting. We're glad to be able to transfer some general revenue surplus into the CIP EAB tree fund last year. So on May 1st, we started out with $500,000, and on May 1st, we expect to have about $458,000 in this fund. It has budgeted revenue of just $1,000, that's just for interest, less expenditures of what we're anticipating to be around $74,000 for an ending cash and investment of $385,000. This fund does not really have any dedicated revenue that goes into it on an annual basis. Picks up a little interest now and then, of course that'll diminish as it gets spent out. So it's a spend down fund. We used to call them spend down funds. You put an amount in and then you plant trees, and over time the fund gets all the way down to 0 and then it goes away. Or a future village board may decide to put more money into the fund to help fund even more trees over time. So again, interest is the only revenue source listed. We have about $14,000 budgeted for our arborist services in the community, both with our tree replacement program and just the general assistance he provides residents, which has been very helpful. And then, of course, the tree replacement program at about $60,000.
Okay, I have a question.
Go ahead.
This was supposed, the $500,000 was supposed to be for a 4-year program, right? And so, last year, I believe we spent about 70, for the first replanting, it was about 75,000 that we spent, and then this year you have it down for 60. So, I know that we were thinking with a 4-year program, there would be about 125,000 each year. You know, and this may increase because, you know, it's a constant replanting and a constant replacing because of the condition of trees. EAB is not dead, and there might be other diseases, but and there may be just trees that are just dying and need to be replaced. So, if this you have here on page 71, 60,000. That's up on the screen. So that's less than what we spent last year. So, you know, I was thinking that maybe that should be increased. We were thinking
so
about
here's-
over 100,000 per year.
Right. So here's the thing about that. The 60,000 is put in as a place setter, and it'll depend to a large extent on how much we have to pay for trees. The trees that are selected to plant, whether they're more common or they're not, whether we get more maples or we get more ginkgos, things of that nature. There's a lot of things that come into play on what the project will actually cost. So I put a place setter in at 60. When I kind of advocated, obviously the Environment Committee's been advocating for some time, but when I advocated to put some money aside for tree planting, I really wasn't thinking like number of years, like a 2-year program, 3-year program, 4-year program. I was thinking, okay, we can afford to do 500,000. Let's get 500,000 into the fund, and we'll see how many. Maybe 3 years. It may be 10 years. It depends on how many people are interested in having these trees planted. I truly believe probably over time, the village board is going to have to put more money into this fund than just $500,000. Most communities, definitively communities our size, which there aren't many, have put millions of dollars into tree replacements and parkways because they've lost so many trees, and we've lost a lot of trees, and it will continue. So it might be that this fund is around for a very long time, and if we have surpluses in future years, I would certainly be an advocate, and hopefully there'll be board members who'll be advocates to put more money into this fund so that we can keep it going for as long as it needs to keep going.
Well, that is a good idea, except, the trees that we're asking for this year are 2.5 inch. So that's why I'm still questioning the 60,000, because it may come in higher.
Well, one of the things I think we'll know a lot more about, I know that the bid's coming in this week, right? I think it's this Thursday, yeah. I think maybe Wednesday or Thursday. So we'll know a lot more then, and if I see those numbers and I feel, we feel that we definitely need to up this number, then we'll make a suggestion to up the number. We'll know more when we get that bid.
Yeah, okay. Now,
those bid results in.
this money was strictly for a tree replacement for road right-of-ways, is that
Right.
correct?
It's for parkways.
For parkways.
Right.
Because I had heard something and that okay, we were going to use this money for a woodbine tree replacement. My recommendation is that sure, trees need to be replaced in woodbine because we've taken them out, but there should be a fund, a tree fund for woodbine.
Yeah, the money
Separate than this fund.
Right, so the money that you spent to remove the trees at the future Village Hall Park site came out of the park fund, and I would expect that if you wanted to plant trees there, that it would come out of the park fund, or some
Okay.
other fund that the board would establish in future years. The money all comes from the same place. It all comes from the general fund. No matter what fund you put it in, it's basically all sales tax coming from the general fund.
We certainly have
Surplus sales tax.
Yeah, we have to have categories, so,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
It definitely would not, the park tree replacement would not come out of this fund. This is for parkway tree replacement. Okay, CIP bond fund. All right.
Okay, the CIP bond fund has a projected opening balance, cash and investment balance of $15.2 million.
Oh, sorry, John.
And that money came from the 2012 bond proceeds, which were just a shade over $17 million. The forecasted revenue is investment income on the proceeds, and the budgeted expenses, they equal $2.36 million, and they represent stormwater improvements, $1 million of new projects, and $350,000 of projects that is going to be coming before you in the next, possibly next meeting or two, which are carryovers from this fiscal year.
Already approved projects.
Yes, so it's $1 million new plus $350 from this year that are going to get rolled. It also includes the joint agency fees per their budget. And the 159th Street improvement project is $871,763, and we have also forecasted $6,000 for professional fees. So at the end of the fiscal year, it'll still have a healthy balance of about $12.9 million. And
So just to add on to that, so obviously the 159th Street improvements, that 871,000, that's actually not going to be spent out, obviously, this next fiscal year. It'll be spent out when IDOT bills us back for things that are completed. So when the sidewalk on the on the south side of 159th Street gets done, they'll bill us for the 20%. When the path on the north side gets done, they'll bill us for our 20%. So what we wanted to do, though, and what we've often done here, and it's good practice, I think, is to list the full amount, what we think the highest total is going to be, as a place setter, so that everybody sees, and okay, we can't spend that money. That's reserved, that's reserved. So it's taken out of the pie, so to speak. Now, way back when you were considering the bond, at that time, we thought that number might be a lot higher because we didn't know what the lighting expense might be or what the trail expense and stuff like that would be. So this is actually, that 871, which the board has already approved, is much less than we originally planned for, so that's a good thing. But it's in there as a place setter. And then, of course, the water transmission line expenses from the joint water agency, that 132,000 is our 20% of the agency's total budget. The initiatives, John, you've already kind of talked about those, so.
I have a question, though.
Go right
Before
ahead.
you go. 159th Street improvements, has there any money's been paid to IDOT at all?
No.
Okay, so exactly what is 159th Street? What are the improvements? Because we don't have them itemized.
I'll give you a detailed breakdown. The traffic signals represent 77,000. The sidewalk and paths represent 207,000. Lighting the intersection represents 518,000. The beacon lighting represents 59,000. We were going to add a sidewalk per the boundary agreement, some extra work that the board has already approved for 12,000. The sum of that is the 872,000. Now, we have not included the Opticom because we think that's going to hit in the next year, and that's going to be paid out of the gaming tax. The Opticom is part of the 159th Street project, but it's not going to hit this year, it'll hit next year.
Right.
And isn't that supposed to come out
And
of motor fuel?
it will be paid out of the
Gaming.
gaming tax.
Gaming?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So
that's a
it's-
decision the board
It's a
already
little
made.
quirky, you have a bond-funded project with a small component that has a revenue pledge from a different fund. It's different.
It's all good. There'll be plenty of money to pay for Opticom and more. So at some future village board will have to decide if they want to, because you decided that you wanted to dedicate the gaming, that portion of the gaming tax to Opticom, but there'll be more than what the Opticom costs. So the board in the future will have to decide where you want that new money to go.
I believe that was specific to certain intersections, too.
I think well, for us, it was Bell Road and 159th, but that's basically where you're gonna have all your Opticom expenses, so, yeah.
And the stormwater improvement projects, have we decided which ones they're going to be this year? Or flooding? These are the flooding projects.
Right. Director Salamovich is gonna bring you some opportunities for you guys to consider, and there'll be a significant number of them, which is one of the reasons we really need that additional part-time staff member to help out. And, you know, my understanding from the board is that you want us to be very aggressive with these stormwater improvements out of the bond fund. We've made a lot of improvements to date, and Mike's list is extensive. You have over 20 or some odd projects left to go. So it'll be many years before we come to the end. And one of the troubles, well, one of the things is that more keep getting added to the end. Smaller ones keep getting added to the end. But that'll be a decision the board makes. We got that $1 million in there as a place setter, the same as we did last year. If you decide to spend less than that, that's great. If you want to spend more than that, that can be accommodated too. Okay, very good. We'll tie things up here with just a quick summary. So again, there's a balanced general fund at 8.4 million and overall budgeted revenues of 12.4 with overall budgeted expenses of 18.1. There's no new taxes. Of course, we continue the village's pledge to have no municipal property taxes for general operations. There's pretty significant infrastructure improvements, finishing off the intersections. $1 million for stormwater improvements is pretty significant, and other things that I mentioned during the presentation. And then, of course, we're counting on growing that sales tax revenue with the addition of all the new stores that are opening up and Big R and everything else. And then we've put the contingency in place for that 5% loss. Pretty rock solid. It's a great budget. We're very fortunate.
Go ahead, Margaret.
Okay. Can we go back to the environment fund? Isn't that where the recycling is taken from?
Recycling revenue, or?
I'm talking about the expenses for like recycling paper, shredding, and...
Yes, that's correct. Conservation events.
Oh, okay. And so on what page does it show the amount?
So what are you specifically asking about? What event?
I wanted to know what the amount was for this year.
I didn't hear what you
Well,
said.
we're going to do paper recycling, is that, or paper shredding?
We are,
aren't
that's in this current fiscal year budget, so it's coming out of the 2014, 2015 budget.
Okay. My question is, so has there been something budgeted for next, for this?
No, what we've tried to do historically is do a year, take a year off, do a year, take a year off. You haven't typically done paper shredding every single year through the history of the village. So we have nothing budgeted for paper shredding next year because you have this one coming up in April.
Okay. Do we always have to work with the county?
You don't work with the county on paper shredding. You have not traditionally worked with the county on electronic recycling. We did this last time because we combined electronic recycling, which was our kind of side of it, with the household hazardous waste. That's the county. So the only time we do anything with the county is typically when we do household hazardous waste. And you do that even less frequently than every other year.
Okay, with this year's paper shredding, before so we won't have anything next year, with this year's paper shredding, how was the firm determined? You know what I mean, did that go out for a bid?
It is the same firm that the village has traditionally used like 3 or 4 times. It's the largest firm in the area. And so we've used the same firm every time we've done it.
And what are we going to be spending?
3,000, 4,000. We can get back to you tomorrow on that. I think it's 2,000 to 4,000, something like that. We really rely on this company. They are a large company, as you know. These events can get very, very busy, and the worst thing that you can have happen is have a line of 50 cars with a company that breaks down. This equipment, is very sensitive when you have all these people stacked and they can't get through. So this company, over the course, I think this is the 3rd one we've done with them. Don't quote me on that, but I think the 3rd. They have proven to be exceptional to work with. And they plan in advance. We're going to have extra truck there in case there's any problem with equipment, because we definitely do not want residents sitting in their car stacked and then have things break down and not be able to service them.
Okay, are there any other questions for the village manager on the proposed budget? All right, then that concludes our workshop on the budget. The next point of order is old business. Is there any old business?
I have old business.
Go right ahead, Margaret.
Okay, this is old business, the lighting ordinance. Environment Committee would like the lighting ordinance to be placed on the April 8th agenda. And the tree ordinance, we had a meeting in February. We'd like to have the amended version of the tree ordinance be placed on the April 22nd board meeting. It's not good to have 2 ordinances reviewed at the same meeting. And then, for a long time, the Environment Committee has asked that a loan program pertaining to lighting be added. I don't think that takes a lot of time. It's just a duplicate program of the facade and sign loan program. We'd like to have that in April. And there is another one that is due, and that's the Starry Night Award. There's a plaque up there. And there are some developments that deserve that award for following the ordinance and ordering the plaque and so forth. It would be timely to do that April 22nd. And that also doesn't take very long as a presentation. So I'd like the board to agree, give me a consensus. These things can be done easily.
Cam, do you have room on the future agendas that Margaret mentioned?
All those things are listed for future board meetings, so if we, slot them in. Sue is working on the program. She's talking about a loan program for lighting, similar to our facade improvement loan program and our sign replacement loan program. And so I know that Sue is working on that, and we'll bring that forward. I don't think she has it done yet, because we've been obviously busy with a lot of other things, but I know she has that on her to-do list.
As far as the lighting is concerned, we wanted to wait because we had some things to add to that, and we wanted to be careful of of the language, and so that part is done. The one part, we're going to be meeting, and there aren't that many things to add to that for the supplement sheet. So again, lighting on the 8th, tree ordinance on the 22nd, and then to include the loan program and the Starry Night Award for the 22nd. So I'm just asking the board for a consensus on that, so that these things are done in April.
If I can make a couple comments, I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Trustee Sabo. April 8th is the day after election. Interesting, because it's just a short order before the new board, and there will be some new board members. That is for certain. I don't plan on running. I don't believe you're planning on running, Trustee Sabo. At least that's what it appears on the sample ballot. So we know that you and I will not be here. So to straddle a new board going into the future with some of these initiatives without a running start into it within 30 days, I think is inappropriate and less than pragmatic for going into the next year. So I would want to employ the opportunity for the new board to get up to speed on some of these things. Just a few short weeks ago, this board approved the initiative that your committee and my committee jointly made recommendations. So we turn around on the lighting and turn around to redo it in such a short time where no one's had a chance to catch up to it for a new board. I think we, that part we need to understand the ramifications long term, and the new board needs to understand the ramifications not only on the long term but short term. So I would implore this board to allow board into the future to catch up with themselves. I mean, they haven't even rose their right hand first, before we're instituting something right around the corner on them. So I would employ the board for that.
I have a comment, Mayor.
Sure. Trustee Suisse?
No, I disagree with Trustee Kajanis, because these are just very minimal fine-tuning of what was already approved. So I disagree that we are trying to push this through or rush through something here.
Well, since they're minimum, I believe that then, that if they're minimum, let it be minimum, and let the new board take the minimums. If it's minimum, it's minimum.
It doesn't make a difference at this point, then.
Then great. So
Well,
let's wait for the new board.
No, because they won't even understand it, and then it gets pushed back another 6 months.
Well,
We've been trying to get through to this point for a long time.
We did a few, trustees, Suisse, we just did a few short weeks ago. So if they're that minimum, allow it to be minimum, but let the new board decide if it's minimum and pursue it with understanding and structure. When you're talking about Kelvins and things of that sort, it's not so minimal. So let's, if it's minimum, in your words, let it be minimum. It's not that important. So let it not be important for the new board. Don't close out this board and straddle the new board.
I think the answer to this is you put it on the agenda and if the board doesn't want to vote on it, you ask for a table until the new elected officials are sworn in, and at that point in time they vote on it. So, I mean, I think the only way we're going to resolve this is just put it on the agenda, and if there's certain people that would want it to be tabled, they make a motion to get it tabled, second, and a vote, and we see where it goes.
I agree.
That's about the best I can do for that.
I agree.
And I would say that the changes are very, with the lighting ordinance and the tree ordinance, are very important to the commercial and industrial properties and to the development. We don't want to detain this anymore. And the lighting ordinance was supposed to be on last meeting, and we felt, don't bring it back twice, just bring it back one time. There were some things that needed clarification and needed to be added. That's the reason that I am asking that this be done.
Okay, Trustee Sabo, I think that's the only way that the mayor can the mayor can do this, is to
Well, I
put it
agree
on
with
the
you.
agenda and let the trustees vote. If they want to table it, they table it. If they don't, they don't, and they vote on it, so.
So the lighting will be on the 7th, and the tree will be on the 22nd, or the 8th, and the tree will be on the 22nd?
Yes.
Do you have that, Cam?
I do, and I'll listen to the tape to make sure we get it right.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Is there any other old business? Okay, is there any new business? All right, then we're gonna move to executive session for the purposes of personnel, hiring, performance, and compensation, and we'll be back in a little bit. We'll take 5 in between, in case you want to talk to anybody. What? Hold on. Wait, what's that, Mark?
You have to have a motion to stop.
Hold
You have the
on.
motion to go to executive session.
Is there a motion to go to executive session for the purposes of discussion, hiring, performance, and compensation?
So moved.
First by trustee Costa,
Second.
second by trustee Yukich. Call the roll.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Janice?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Yes.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Motion carries.